Silent Separation, Epilogue 1.3, YiMei's chapter. A person's flower bloomed. That day I felt restless and went to C University to look for him. C University had an unwritten rule, which is guys can't go into the girls' dormitory, but girls can go into the boys' dormitory. Therefore, there was nothing to hinder me from going to Yichen's dormitory. Yichen was not there. Yichen's roommate knew me long ago, so the first thing he asked me was whether I was aware that Zhao Mosheng had left. I was taken back. Before Yichen came back, his roommate had already told me everything he knew. In the end, he wanted me to console Yichen by saying that that kind of heartless girl was unworthy for him to remember fondly. After that, I did not pay attention to what he said. I envisioned a lot of sceneries, but I did not expect that Zhao Mosheng would leave. I kept wondering in my mind, how could she simply go away? Was it really like what they said, that in order to go abroad, she left without a word? Or was it because of what I said? Also, did she mention to Yichen what I said? When I was feeling restless, Yichen came back from the law faculty. He appeared okay, but seemed a little bit haggard. Gloominess appeared between his eyebrows, and his eyes looked dark. I stood up. "YiMei?" He called me faintly. "I have come." I did not know what to say, and for a split second, even a little panic. If Zhao Mosheng left because of what I said, I did not know what he would think of me. He did not seem to notice my acting strangely. Like before, he asked me what was the matter. I shook my head. He did not say much. He merely asked me to have lunch together. We went to the cafeteria to have our meal. If we didn't go to the small restaurant outside, the cafeteria was the place we most frequently went. It was because Zhao Mosheng liked that very sugary sweet and sour pork rib prepared by the chef there. Every time she also wanted to come early to line up for the fear of it selling up. The chef here probably knew her, as he always gave her more than others. When she could not finish, she would use her chopstick to give one by one to Yichen. In fact, he was not fond of eating sweet stuff, but it seems like he never declined. While we were eating, Yichen was very quiet. Since he did not speak, I also dare not say much, and after finishing our meal and on our way out of the cafeteria, he said to me, "I'll go to N University with you." The moment he said those words, I felt pleasantly surprised. However, his next sentence immediately wiped them away. "Is Zhao Mosheng's card with you?" "What?" I said in a daze. "Last time she used a library card to help you to borrow that book, Money and Banking." The library card was conveniently slipped inside the book. He repeatedly mentioned her, but his facial expression was very ordinary all along, and his manner of speaking was also quite stable. "Oh," I replied blankly. We walked all the way to N University. The road was exceptionally quiet today. Yichen has always been a man of few words. Previously, the atmosphere was lively because Zhao Mosheng kept on chatting with him all the way. When we arrived at my university, he waited for me downstairs while I ran upstairs. Before, I have to write a thesis on money and banking subject, but the book for this subject matter in N University were very old. Therefore, I asked Yichen to help me to borrow from C University's library. Yichen's library card's quota was full, so he used Zhao Mosheng's card instead. I climbed onto my bed to take out the book and flip through it. The library card was really inside, caught in the back section of the book, which I did not notice before. In the photo, Zhao Mosheng had a ponytail. It appears of big eyes, the curve of her smile like a crescent moon, and she appeared to glitter like the sunshine. A very familiar smile, which I had seen often not long ago. Probably because she was truly happy. Her smile was infectious. Whenever she smiled, her dimple was partly hidden and partly visible, a bit naughty and also high-spirit, causing people to unconsciously follow her cheerful mood. Perhaps Yichen liked this kind of smile. Actually, I also looked good when I smiled, but not like her kind. For a split second, I wanted to throw away the library card and tell Yichen that I could not find it. However, in the end, I still brought it down and watched Yichen put it into his pocket. She was already gone, looking at Yichen's gradually disappearing desolate bag. I kept telling myself, what was the point of smiling even more brilliantly? She was already gone, had already left. Even if Yichen still wanted to yearn for her for a while, he would forget her very soon. At least he was already very calm now. At that time, I still did not understand that there was a kind of calmness called ripple in the stagnant water. Without Zhao Mosheng, the opportunity for me to meet with Yichen was instead less than before. Nobody called me frequently to go to the Sea University. I also cannot find so many excuses to go there often. Therefore, I only found out Yichen had been smoking very heavily a long time later. It was very common for boys to smoke in the university days, so I did not really want to associate with another matters. For a time, I had deceived others and also myself that it was caused by the university environment, even though this was obviously out of character for Yichen. Knowing was one thing, but seeing with one's own eye was another thing. Once I went to his dormitory and personally saw his roommates and him completely drunk. Actually, at that time, it was the birthday of someone in their dormitory. Everyone also got drunk, not just him. But I did not know why. I could not stand it any longer. Yichen was never like this. He always had good self-control and did everything with a great sense of propriety. I really wanted to convince myself that he was just celebrating a friend's birthday and not drowning his sorrow in liquor, but he looked so gloomy and depressed, making me unable to deceive myself. The blind spot I did not see previously seemed to become clearer now. Gradually, I remember Yichen said when Zhao Mosheng passed her, his eye had a faint smile. Sometimes when she was a little late, he would be impatient and worried. No matter how careless she was, he would only frown and help her to sort out everything. There were still so many incidents. Why did I not see them before? Unconsciously, my cheeks were streaming with tears. I did not know for whom. It turns out that he was just trying so hard to maintain a calm appearance. Now that he was drunk, he could not conceal it anymore. Everything was exposed into the open. When he was sobered, I had become a lot calmer, but sadly said to him, "Look at you. Not just my parents, but if dad, uncle, and aunt were to see you like this, they will also be heartbroken. In addition, I was also very sad. Yichen, did you know that?" He did not say anything for a long time. He lowered his eyes, and his facial expression was hidden in the shadow. After a long time, he dejectedly said, "You're right. I do not have the right to indulge myself." Consequently, that outstanding and cool-headed Yichen was back, but I still felt as if there was something different. I could not pinpoint what. Yichen and I remained the same. Zhao Mosheng probably did not have time to mention what I said to Yichen, because he did not talk about it at all. As for me, I did not have the courage to mention it again. I was satisfied with the status quo. At present, it seemed like we would return to the before. And although the relation between us did not progress farther, there was no one extra person. I was very weak and dare not take the initiative to pursue anything, except to wait until one day he would turn and look at me. But I was feeling more and more lonely. I treated everyone also well, but I did not have good friends. After Zhao Mosheng left, nobody asked me to go shopping. Nobody told me I looked good when trying on clothes, and also nobody informed me a month in advance that my birthday was just around the corner. I vaguely thought, actually, I also like this friend. It's just that there was Yichen between us. 4 years of university passed by in the blink of an eye. When I graduated, I was still single to the amazement of my roommate. I had a female classmate, one hand holding the graduate certificate and the other hand holding the marriage certificate. After having the farewell party, there was also a wedding feast next, so it had become the hot topic of conversation. When I was treating Yichen dinner with my first month's salary, I told him about it. While he was listening, he seemed to be having a lapse in concentration and inadvertently said, "I have also planned to get married after graduation." I looked at him in shock. He seemed to have realized what he had just said. A trace of sadness flitted across his eyes. For a short while, both of us did not speak. I slowly regained my composure and said to Yichen, "Last time one asked me whether you have a girlfriend. You should find a girlfriend." At this moment, I spoke that sentence sincerely and genuinely. 4 years of university made me realize that after Zhao Mosheng, Yichen may fall in love with someone, but that someone would definitely not be me. I was no longer the former YiMei. Currently, I hope that he can fall in love with someone, and this time around, I would just wish him well wholeheartedly. Even though my heart ached, he lightly in a few sentences changed the topic. We finished our meal by talking about some irrelevant topics. When it was time to pay the bill, and although I said it would be my treat, Yichen still paid the money. While waiting for the waiter to come back with the change, Yichen had got up to go to the restaurant. When the waiter came back with the change, he still had not come back. I saw that his jacket was draped on the chair, so I reached out and took out his wallet from the coat's pocket, wanting to put the change back into it. The moment I opened the wallet, I saw that photo. It seems to have been torn from a document, as there were traces of steel marks on it. In the photo, the girl had a ponytail, a pair of big eyes, the curves of her smile like a crescent moon, and she appeared to glitter like the sunshine. A very familiar smile, which I have not seen for a long time. When Yichen came back, I was still holding onto his wallet and stared blankly in a daze. It was too late to put back the wallet, so I might as well put the money into it and return it to him in an easy manner. "That's your change." "Okay," he nodded and took it with a calm expression, just like that year when Zhao Mosheng just left. At this moment, I suddenly realized the implied meaning behind this kind of expression. He was calm because he already made his decision. He had decided to continue to wait. Some people's wound will heal slowly in time like mine. Some people's wound will fester slowly in time like his. All these years, he had healed only outwardly. There's a kind of wound that penetrates the bone marrow and ravages areas that cannot be seen. After leaving the restaurant, we walked to the bus station. At that time, he had just worked for a year, whereas I just started working. 'Tis both of us also do not have much money, so we chose to use the bus, which was the cheapest mode of transportation. While waiting for the bus, we did not speak. My bus was turning into the station, and when the bus was about to stop, he suddenly uttered to me, "YiMei?" I turned my head to look at him. The brilliant colors of the city light night reflect on his body, making him looking all the more lonely. "You will understand later. If in this world that person wants a pair, other people would just be a compromise," he said. "I do not want to compromise." The bus was driven farther and farther away, his silhouette slowly becoming a blurry in my line of vision. My mind kept thinking about his words. "You will understand later. If in this world that person wants a pair, other would just be a compromise." I said, "Why later? I have known all along. I also do not want to compromise. 'Tis in this crowded metropolis, both of us with the same frame of mind stubbornly waiting in loneliness. Busy with our respective careers, we gradually have lost contact with each other compared to the university days. Before, I used to be afraid that this day would come, but this day still come. In fact, it had seemed like nothing. I was not sad, because I was already used to it. Yichen gave me a very long time to get used to it. Later, he once came to my office to pick me up to go back to Y City to visit my sick father. While waiting for me downstairs, one of my female colleagues met him. The next day, the female colleague asked me who he was and even basically asked if he has a girlfriend. I simply replied he already has a girlfriend in the United States. Her eyes revealed her disappointment and somewhat dissatisfied. She said to me, "A foreign girlfriend? Most long relationships will break up, and a foreign girlfriend is very dangerous. No, they'll end up together." I did not know where my persistence came from. "She'll come back." My colleague was probably surprised by my firm expression. "YiMei, you're not hurt, so how do you know?" I did not answer again. I merely said over and over again in my heart, "How could she not come back?" He was always waiting for her. However, we did not expect such a long time. Waiting was not frightening. What was frightening was not knowing when it would end. 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 6 years, and then on the 7th year. That day I had brought mother's homemade Chinese pickles to him. When I put it into the refrigerator, I discovered that there was no food inside, completely empty. Hence I asked him to go to the supermarket. The supermarket was crowded on the weekends. While walking, I chatted with Yichen about each other's current situation. The last time we met was more than 2 months ago, and then I seemed to hear the sound of something collapsing. I casually turned my head. In the midst of the collapsing sound, I saw her. From the last time I met her in KFC up until now, it had already been more than 7 years. I suddenly felt this lengthy time frame seemed like I only turned around for a moment. The blue sea turned into a blurry field. The world is changing all the time. The change was merely my gradually aching heart. The change was merely Yichen's increasing heart child. As for her, she seemed to have not changed one bit, still continued to smile without a care and without any worries. That night, after I arrived home, I sat on the sofa and watched the sky gradually brightening up. Because I was too busy with work, I had not been tidying up my rented small apartment for a long time. That flower pot on the balcony, after I brought it back, I just left it there, not knowing when the flower had bloomed before. I also did not know when the petals withered by the rain and wind, only leaving a red petal swinging in the morning breeze. Suddenly, I felt as if I was like this unknown named flower. A person's flower bloomed, a person's flower withered, all these years from start to finish. Nobody asked about it.